Welcome back to Blatantly Honest with Makaila Nichols. On tonight's episode, I have something a little bit different for you. I'll be having two guests on to share their insight on mental health. Our first guest is Janet Dillon. She's overcome so many adversities in her life and has now dedicated herself to helping others. Janet was diagnosed with bipolar 2 disorder and was dependent on opioids. Once she recovered, she decided to use her voice and her platform to advocate for the Victoria's Voice Foundation. Our second guest is Vida Hargrett, Mrs. South Florida. She's a certified mental health therapist and a cheer coach. She's the national spokesperson for the MESO Foundation and an advocate for the National Alliance on Mental Illness. So I think that's a great way to lead into this episode. I think it's incredible to have both of you on at the same time. This is my first time having two guests at the same time. So this is kind of a first for me. It's an absolute...
Hey, first for Makaila too.
Yes. So an absolute privilege. And we're going to be taking the route of mental health here with this episode.
I'm a mental health therapist.
Mental health therapist.
Yes.
And then Janet, I know we're going to dive into your mental health, struggles, and more importantly, how strong you are. I think that's something great to focus on. So I guess let's start with you. When were you first diagnosed with bipolar 2 disorder?
That was in 2011, I believe. But I had, of course, had symptoms before that. To say that's the first time that I officially was diagnosed.
So you're growing up, right? So you're just going through life. And did you always kind of know there was something a little bit, so to speak, off?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like as a child, I had probably about the same upbringing as Vida.
Mm-hmm.
We were both cheerleaders. We were both, very
involved,
happy,
right?
active young people and very involved in life. And so for me, that was the predominant feeling most of my childhood. But there was times when I went through depression. So, and that was pretty severe at times.
Yeah, I can't imagine. So you're going through all this and you finally get diagnosed. How was that? Was it almost relief that it's like, oh, I know what's going on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's I can't even tell you, it's such a relief to know what's wrong.
Right.
And so because then you can begin to fix it. You can begin to work with it. Maybe you can't solve it completely.
Right.
You can't make it go away. But you can learn how to cope.
Exactly.
And through medication and through physical therapy or mental therapy.
I mean, physical
Yeah.
and mental, that's key,
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that has dealt with depression, anxiety.
Yeah,
and,
anxiety's big.
things such as like working out, taking a walk, just small things that you can do physically assist with it. So
that's huge for me.
Absolutely.
Exercise is like one of the most important things that keeps me mentally stable.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah.
So Vida, maybe you can answer this one. What stigmas do you think are associated with bipolar disorder?
I think a lot of people have the misconception of when it comes to being bipolar that you have, like you stated, a stigma,
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to talk about it because of how society has portrayed it. And a lot of people think when it comes to being bipolar, you have multiple personalities. Well, that's multiple personality disorder. It's two completely different. It's two completely different diagnoses. And I'm sure you can piggyback off of what I'm stating.
Yeah.
When it comes to bipolar, it's almost like an emotional hurricane. That's how I describe it in most senses, right? One moment you could be completely calm and relaxed, and then within a split of a second, you could be extremely sad or, depressed or what have you.
Yes.
And it's just unexplainable. Like Janet was just stating, she just didn't understand the emotions that she was going through. And it can be a very, very scary feeling, right?
Yeah, it's a mood disorder.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you have highs and you have lows. So hopefully your lows are not too low, because that's where, serious issues come into play, like suicidal thoughts.
Yeah, suicide, unfortunately, is something that a lot of people are struggling with, especially during this pandemic. And, leading up to it, it's just, we all feel so isolated and alone. How has your mental health been, Janet, during all of this stay-at-home order?
I actually did pretty well. I had a bit of depression at the end of last year that I went through. And that prompted me to go back and to seek mental help, mental
Good for
therapy
you.
help. Yeah.
Good
So,
for you.
because I hadn't done it, I was probably what they call medicine non-compliance.
Mhm.
You know, so it's like
That medication management will get you
Yes.
every time.
non-compliance is not necessarily good to balance.
Yeah.
So it's important, and I realized it. I went back and I got reevaluated, diagnosed, and you know, my therapist is working with me, and she's
Right.
amazing. And that's why I have so much respect for
Mhm.
Vida, because she's in such an incredibly important field that is super unappreciated.
Well, thank you. And honestly, I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's so important, especially as a mental health therapist, to just be able to set that connection with your clients. You know, some of them are telling you their deepest, darkest secrets and moments in their lives, and you have to be vulnerable to be able to talk to a complete stranger about these situations. Am I right?
It's almost easier in a way when you don't know that person.
Really?
And you're just starting off, with a clean slate. It's a fresh human being who knows nothing about you. And so there is no preconceived notions.
I love it.
So you can just start and go, hey, this is me, and here's what I'm about.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful relationship that ends in a lot of positivity.
I love that. I love that. And you would be the ideal client. I've had the best of both worlds, should I say. I've had clients where, like you said, Janet has a very positive mindset and like, listen, you know, there's no preconceived notions, you know.
Yeah.
And then I've also had clients that are very closed in, you know, that have had a hard time trusting because of what trauma they've experienced or what life has taught them in a sense.
Yeah.
So trying to break through and pull those layers down is pretty challenging at times, and it literally can make therapy extensive in regards to the time span.
Yeah, I just decided to keep it easy and cut right to the chase and go to the deep stuff.
Good for you. No, that's awesome.
Jump on board.
Save the fluff, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
No time wasted.
Yes, no time wasted. So, Vida, what made you want to get into the realm of mental health?
You know, had you asked me this when I first started undergrad, I would have probably thought you were off your rocker. I was going to be a pediatric nurse. I had my mindset. I went into the studies, what have you. And then I realized, like, you know, you have to have a heart and a love for what you do. I sat back, I took a step back, and I analyzed, you know, could I see myself being a pediatric nurse for the rest of my life? Love children, love helping people, but I could not imagine myself being in that field for the rest of my life. And I thought about it and I prayed about it. And my professor actually sought me out and she's like, have you ever thought about therapy? You know? And I was like, no, I haven't. Right. So it was an idea. I looked into it. I did some research. I started taking some courses and I grew an immediate love and respect for this field. I think it was when I lost my father in undergrad. It was in 2007, I believe. It was my last year of undergraduate school. And I was oblivious as to what depression was or anything of that sort. And then I was going through all of these emotions after I lost my father, you know, just grieving, should I say.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I realized that mental health is real. You know, you can read about it in a novel, you can read about it in a book, but it's real. It's happening to us every single day, and we're oblivious. We don't know what's going on, and that scared me. So that pushed me even more to want to just go forth and learn more about mental health and, you know, mental illness and the triggers and what we can do, the resources that are there. And, you know, it's been the best decision of my life. I've been able to partner with the National Alliance on Mental Illness. As an advocate, I've worked with them for about 10 years, you know, just in the community, you know, spreading the word about mental health, normalizing the conversation, eradicating the stigma, you know, you name it, we're doing it. Right now, we're working on the National Day of Hope, which is the yearly walk that they do every single year. It's an amazing fundraiser. Wow. This year, it'll be virtual, obviously. But, you know, just great things that they're doing with the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And I just feel very blessed to be a part of that organization.
That's incredible. What a great organization. For me, mental health is always kind of, you know, with everything that I went through growing up between bullying and sexual assault, and
Right.
I have like severe anxiety, so I get like,
Mhm.
panic, and like it's kind of like panic disorder, and I'll be having a conversation with someone and boom, panic attack, like out
Right.
of nowhere. And it's
Yeah.
like having to explain that, or it's just like I'm more comfortable now than I used to be. But having those conversations in mental health, and like, thank you for being in that field of work, because it is so important, and
Absolutely.
it helps everyone in some way or another. So Janet, when you're having conversations of mental health in your own household, what does that look like?
I suppose it's moments where I ask for my family, my husband and my son, to understand when I'm
Right.
going through something, and perhaps I'm depressed or perhaps I'm anxious. I also have anxiety issues. So we're just constantly learning how to balance everything between us all and keep things moving forward.
Right. Yeah.
Positivity and consistency is really important, especially with meds.
Right.
You
Absolutely.
don't want to miss a day or you get all weepy.
Yeah, that's very true. A lot of people, I think, forget that. And
Yeah. But I think it's interesting what you said, that people don't believe in psychology at times.
Right.
And I was just having a conversation with a girlfriend of mine who's a bit older, and she said, in my generation, they didn't know about psychology and they didn't believe it was real. She said, I just still can't believe it's real because I was trained to think that it wasn't real.
Right.
And I'm like,
what?
That's interesting.
Right.
Well, because you're of the young generation.
Yes.
So the older generation, they were taught that psychology was a bunch of mumbo jumbo. And so that's, that generation is learning, and as well as the new generations, that it is real and it is important to address it, know what you're dealing with, get help. And I would encourage anyone who has any issues in life, difficulties, things that they just don't understand, why can't I get this under control? If your moods are swinging and you just can't seem to calm them down, then perhaps it's okay just to go take that next step and go see someone about it.
Right. No, I agree. I agree 100%. And I just to figure out what Janet was stating, a lot of households is shunned about speaking, about your feelings and mental health in general, which I was super excited just this year within the state of Florida, myself alongside the National Alliance on Mental Illness, we were able to integrate mental health into the public school systems for grades 6 through 12.
Excellent.
Wow.
And I think that's huge.
Yeah.
That is huge.
Absolutely, because it really educates our next generation on, like you stated, the psychology of mental health, what it looks like, the triggers. Even our educators, some of them are oblivious as as to why students act the way they act. Oh, it's a bad student. Well, no, maybe
there's no bad students.
Absolutely. There's ADD,
which I had as a child as well.
There you go. And sometimes it's neurological and they can't help the behaviors. There's other ways to reach that child. So I'm really excited to see that, mental health is being integrated into our school system. And I think that's super, super important.
Yes.
That's incredible. I did not know that. So thank you for sharing that. I think there needs to be more. I think as a nation, I think we need to address it more. And I'm glad it's happening on a state level. Now we just have to make it on a national level and then global.
Absolutely. And that is the goal. That is the goal. Right now, it's like I stated, it's Florida. And, I will continue to work day in and day out diligently into other states have jumped aboard as well.
She's so awesome.
She is awesome. She is awesome. You both are awesome.
Yes, you are as well.
So
I love this girl.
Yes, she is amazing. She is absolutely. So are you. So, so let's.
So are you, Makaila?
Debatable. But I think there's some, we're talking a little bit about mental health. And then Janet, I know you told me earlier that you were in a car accident. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because I think that relates to a topic that it'll go to.
Absolutely. Yes. So I was in a few car accidents, 5. And I totaled 5 cars. Now, I'm not proud of that. It's just a fact.
Wow.
So only 3 of them were my fault. Wow. So I will say that, not proud, but just as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but three of them were very, very serious, and there was a lot of injuries, whiplash and back injuries and leg injuries. So, broken ankle. I had a lot happen. So I definitely had prescribed pain medicine, which is opioids, so I was really happy that I didn't have to suffer. But as you take them for a long period of time, your body does get dependent, and that's just a matter of fact, and that won't change. If you take the medicine, it's not like you are an addict, but if you don't stop, then you need help getting off of it. But I realized at the end of the pain cycle that I was starting to take the medicine to actually keep myself from getting sick. So I realized, okay, the pain is pretty much subsiding. So now I guess the next step is to take that pain medicine away. So I withdrew myself off the medicines with the doctor's advice. And so I know what it feels like to go through that whole withdrawal process.
Wow.
And it is not fun. I'm sure people have gone through worse. I know they have. Because there's much harder drugs out there that people are withdrawing from, and it's very, very bad.
Wow.
But so I withdrew from that, and twice I withdrew from opioids after car accidents. So it's like a necessary evil. But recognizing that this is something that you do not want to be on for long term. I was like, well, then I should just take myself off no matter what, no matter what I have to go through.
I can't imagine going through that. I mean, especially twice. That's just extremely different. You should be so proud of yourself. I can't imagine the difficulty that you had to experience.
Thank you.
With the opioid crisis going on in our country, I mean, what are both of your thoughts on that?
Wow, you're just taking me back on that. Like,
it's pretty heavy.
No, that is.
It's a national crisis.
It's just like I stated with mental health. It's real. It's happening day in and day out, and it could start with something as innocent as a car accident, or even a surgical procedure, and positive intentions going into it, just to utilize it for pain medication. And then before you know it, you continue utilizing it. Your body gets accustomed to it, and then you're fiending for it, in a lack of a better phrase.
Completely dependent.
Absolutely. I think a lack of education is the main reason we are where we are when it comes to this epidemic.
Yes.
Again, I will say it 1,000 times over. I think the Seagulls are doing an amazing job with bringing awareness toward this epidemic, because not a lot of people understand how critical it is on our college campuses, in schools and in adults' lives, like Janet just stated. So it's real, and it's a conversation that needs to be had worldwide.
I think so.
Yeah, and I guess that's one of the main reasons why I am so excited to be aligned with this pageant system, because they do actually have a national platform that aligns with me and you.
Right. Personal.
Because it's personal, and we really want to make a difference and help people.
Yeah, I think, with the pageant system, and especially the focus, with Victoria's Voice, I think that young people this is something that's really impacting young people, because, we think we're invincible. And I think that's just my generation. And we think, oh, we can do this and we can do this and we can get away with it. And clearly that's not the case.
Right.
So you're not alone. It's every generation that thinks that way when they're young.
Even with our generation, you think it'll never happen to you.
Yeah.
Right?
Until it does.
Until it does. You stole the words out of my mouth. Until it does. But it, like you stated, it's something that needs to be discussed a lot more, especially with our next generation. I think it's pivotal.
Yeah. So we can identify children in need and help them earlier, so they don't have such a struggle in life.
Yeah. Attention and awareness, I think early on is key. And I mean, especially with everything that's going on with your work, Vida, with the 6th through 12th, I believe you said, with
Yes.
having that conversation on mental health is just so important. Aside from that, what else is, I believe it's NAMI. Is that how you say the abbreviation? NAMI?
Yes, NAMI.
I'm like, ah.
It's NAMI. It stands for the National Alliance on Mental Illness.
So what else are they focusing on and where can we find them?
Well, they're worldwide. It's a national organization. So there's a NAMI in every state. I have partnered with, obviously, the state of Florida, the Broward County chapter, as an advocate. There's education, advocacy, you name it, NAMI is doing it. They have just recently with COVID and everything, there've been Zoom sessions, virtual parties, speakers. Awesome. Yeah, it's something for everyone. And I jump on when I can, when I'm not working with the kids, obviously. Yeah. I jump on just to show support, supply telehealth when needed as a therapist, whatever I can do to assist. But the organization is absolutely amazing and they're changing lives every single day.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Yeah, there needs to be more organizations like that because these are the real conversations that are going on.
Yes.
I completely agree.
Yes.
So Janet, tell me a little bit about your platform.
Well, my platform is Victoria's Voice Foundation because I feel like, as I said earlier, everything that they believe in, I believe in. Mm-hmm. And so it's really just important that, mental health and addiction is addressed and the stigma is erased. Yeah. It's very, very important for the next generation.
I agree. And I think the alignment there is just, not that it's amazing, obviously, because, you having to go through all that, I still can't imagine, but you saying like, hey, I survived this, I got through this, and here's what I'm going to advocate for.
Yes, so, if you could see what I had been through in my past and how much I have recovered and overcome. And I think that's really important to also mention that when you are dealing with anyone who you think may have an issue of some kind, mentally or otherwise, really just tell yourself that you don't know what they have already gone through to get to where they are now. So I think it's important to appreciate everyone, no matter where they are. Start from where you are and grow.
I love that.
Thank you.
I love that. That is so true.
Well said. No, I agree. I think that was the most true thing because you never know what someone's going through, and you can seem like you have it all put together, but clearly not. Mental health matters. So.
Yes,
I agree. We're all human. You just never know.
Yes, and mental issues can occur at any point in your life through trauma.
Absolutely.
And abuse.
Absolutely. I mean, 1 in 5 adults in the United States experience mental illness. I mean, it's real. It's happening day in and day out. So what you stated is 100%.
And it doesn't have to be something that you just say, oh, this is me, I have to deal with it for life. You really have control. Mm-hmm. And if you take the steps, you can see progress and you can make progress.
Right.
And so then you go from A to B to C to D and you continue to grow.
Right. And then there's so many other options. There's therapy. If you can't grasp control on your own, there's support there. There are people there that are in line that are waiting to just grab your hand and walk through this process with you. I tell my clients all the time, listen, I'm not here to change your life. Just look at me as the GPS and you're the car. It's your life. And if you're going right and I feel as though it's more beneficial to go left, we'll just reroute on the route that you're on, but at the end of the day, I think it's so important for everyone to remember that it's still your life. You still have complete control.
Yes.
As a therapist, we're just there to assist and guide.
And I think that's what a lot of people tend to be a little hesitant to go and seek help because they're afraid that once they do, they're just turning over their life to the people in charge. And that is not the case at all.
No.
You're not turning over your life. You're just adding a little help and support system.
Absolutely. And we all need that.
Yeah.
We all need that.
I think everybody needs therapy, really.
Absolutely.
Life is tough.
Yeah, life is tough. You know, we all need someone to talk to and understand us, and more importantly, be there for us and be that support system.
I agree.
Yes.
I guess let's leave with this question. So you're both I hate the word competing because it's not like competing. You're both participating.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, participating in the Miss Florida for America pageant on September 5th. So what made you both want to enter this system?
I guess I'll go first.
Go right ahead.
You know, this isn't something that I just woke up and decided that I wanted to participate in. You know, I've been on this journey since I can remember, you know, and it's a family affair. I believe in everything the Mrs. Florida America pageant system stands upon. Its motto is "We are family," and that's something that I stand for every single day, you know, not just as a mother and a wife, but also in my field as a therapist. You know, at the end of the day, I'm walking into homes, I'm changing lives, I'm becoming a part of those individuals' lives as their family member. To be an ambassador for this organization is something that I don't take for granted. I respect, like I stated before, everything it stands upon, and to be able to connect with them on a state and potentially national level is something that I think would just be an amazing blessing.
Incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it would.
Janet, what are your thoughts? What made you want to enter a pageant?
My first pageant was when I was, I think, 15. And I did this because I was looking for a stage because I'm a singer. So I really wanted to just have a stage to sing on.
I love it.
So I found a pageant with a talent competition. So I was super excited. I won, and I was like, yes, this is my new thing. I'm good at it.
Right.
So, and I won a national pageant. So, and my sister at the same time won the same pageant with two separate sets of judges. So we came from Florida, went to the national in DC, and two separate sets of judges, and they both picked us.
I love it.
I was blown away. It's the first time in history, in pageant history, that had ever happened.
That's awesome.
So
that's incredible.
And you just got the pageant bug from there.
From there.
And here we are.
Like years and years, cut years later, and I'm like, okay, it's time to do another one. Let's see. This is a good one. I like what this pageant system stands for.
I agree. The Mrs. America organization is definitely a class act. So
yes. As well as all the women who have come before us.
Set the legacy. What about you, Makaila? What made you join?
You know, that's a good question. Usually no one turns it around on me, so I respect it. Yeah, she's like, so tell me. You know, I am just really passionate about, I had met Victoria years ago in passing. I'm from Windermere. I live close to the Siegel family. And I remember hearing about it. And, you know, I went about my life and I didn't really think much of it. And then it was when my book came out that I had reached out and I was like, I would like to include Victoria in my book because, you know, she was bullied too. And, you know, I made it out alive and unfortunately she did not. And, you know, so I kept going through my life and I was like, there's something that I need to do. Like I felt in my heart that there was something that I needed to do, something that was missing. And I was like, you know what, you know, I'm going to do a pageant. And I did one like, but it doesn't even count. It was like years and years and years and years ago, like whole new Makaila. And I was like, I don't know, like, am I going to do that? And I just felt in my heart that, you know, to be an advocate for Victoria's voice and having my own foundation now, I just think the timing was perfect. And I think that I was kind of pushed by a higher power, whatever everyone believes is totally up to them. But I kind of felt like this was something to say, Makaila, you survived, you got through the worst parts, you know, let's advocate for those who aren't here.
So time to pay it forward. I love that.
Yeah,
I love
really
that.
great.
Well, thank
you know, because a lot of people go into it, you know, just to compete or to participate. And I think that's awesome. But to have that why just makes it that much sweeter, you know, like you were stating when you competed a few years ago, same ordeal, you know, when I competed as a Miss, I just loved dressing up. I loved getting on stage, you know, it was fun. But, as I've stepped into adulthood and, I've become a Mrs., my why has changed drastically. So I definitely can relate to what you were stating, just having that reason for getting on that stage and being able to advocate and have a broader audience. It's what it's really all about.
And pageantry is different now from when I was a kid. Childhood pageantry is a whole other thing. So we didn't have to have any platforms back then, so this is totally a new ball game.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's great to be able to have a voice.
I think that's important. I think there's a lot of stigmas associated with pageantry.
Absolutely.
And I fell into that a while ago. I'll be honest. I was like, oh my God, like, no. Cause that was never me. I never got dressed up. I never was all the time. Like I was just, but now I'm like, oh my God, like these are the most successful, inspirational, talented women. Yep. And it's awesome because you don't find that every day just walking down the street, women that are just passionate about everything and everyone and just being the best versions of themselves. So I'm like, wow, I found a whole crowd.
Yeah. Thank you. Seriously. I agree. My husband was the same. He literally, we did a podcast last week and he stated it on the podcast. I was one of those people, but Vida made me a believer when it comes to pageantry because he didn't understand the layers and how amazing these women are that are competing in these pageants.
It's part of why I wanted to do it. This is my third time in the Mrs. America system. I was in Oregon for 3 years ago. I was in Oregon for 2 years.
Wow.
So I did 2 of the pageants up there, and I loved the experience.
Awesome.
So I always knew that when I came back to Florida, I was going to do the pageant here because it does give you such an awesome chance to hang out with some beautiful, incredible souls. And you know what they say, it's in the Bible, iron sharpens iron.
I like that.
So
I love it.
Hang out with who you want to be like.
Absolutely. Like-minded individuals.
Yes.
Beautiful quote. So, well, thank you guys so much for being on this podcast. It really means the world to me, and sharing your story and everything that you're doing in the community is incredible in every way.
Thank you. And thank you for having us both.
Yes, thank you so much, Makaila. Thank you for taking the time with us.
Of course.
Ready?
Be bold.
Be you.
Be blatantly honest.